Hello friends, it's Gerry with Black Salt Audio and welcome back to another video. Today I wanted to talk about saturation and the overall impact it can have on your mixes. Now, what is saturation and why would you want to use it? Well, basically saturation is a really nice way of adding weight and edge to your different tracks that goes beyond the typical conventions of things like EQ or compression. It's that little bit of magic that outboard gear would give us back in the day when all we would use was analog gear. But these days, it's a mostly digital world, and in an effort to make it as convenient as possible to get the best sounding tones right in the box, that little bit of magic has been lost in translation. I myself am an engineer who uses drum samples and amp sims on a daily basis, and yeah, sometimes it can sound a little thin and lifeless. Okay, so I get saturation, but where does it come from and where do I start? Well, saturation can come from a number of different sources, but mainly we're talking about things like tube preamps or similar hardware, as when you tend to push those, that's when you get that really sought after, pleasing saturation sound. It just makes your track sound bigger, fatter, and fuller. But there's also that really simple fact that some of us just don't have access to really high-end and expensive outboard gear. So naturally, there are a lot of plugins out there claiming to do different things. This one's modeled after this tube circuit, or this one has a better modeling algorithm or whatever. It can be a little daunting, but that's why I love our Escalator plugin, as it's really easy to use and surprisingly versatile. Okay, so enough talk. Let's throw some saturation onto a few tracks and listen to what it's doing. So I have a really simple session here. All I have is drums, bass, rhythm guitars, a lead guitar, and some clean guitars right here at the end that we're not going to worry about. Let's start out by listening to this drum track in solo with Escalator bypassed. Okay, so it's pretty clean sounding, and for a track like this that's pretty high energy, it needs a lot more edge. So let's go ahead and engage Escalator and listen to what that's doing. Listen to how much more explosive the drums sound. The cymbals in the room just have way more energy to them. And now let's listen to it in the mix. Now let's listen to how saturation is affecting a few other tracks. For my bass guitar, I basically have it split up into two different sections. I have a bass low and a bass clank track. Technically, it's three different sections with this bass chorus send, but I go into a little bit more detail in this video right here, but let's give it a listen and see what's going on. Okay, so it's a pretty cool sound, but I wanted a lot more aggression out of the bass, and in this instance, I'm actually using Escalator more like a distortion effect and like really dirtying up that bass clank track. So I'm really liking that sound, and that's only really possible with what's going on under the hood in Escalator. It actually behaves differently the more you turn up the knob, Between 0 and 30% is going to add saturation and thickness to your sound. Between 30 and 65% is going to introduce compression and gentle distortion. And 65% and beyond is going to add a clipping distortion, but is still a very usable and musical distortion. Also, I just want to say very quickly that if you're digging the way the Escalator is sounding, you can head over to blacksaltaudio.com and get yourself a 14-day free trial. Let's throw some saturation onto our rhythm guitars. Now, since these are already pretty distorted, I'm not going to go as crazy with Escalator, but we can still thicken them up by dialing in a lower setting. So here it is without it. And now in the mix. Let me jump to a different section here. It's crazy how much more impactful and full of life our rhythm guitars are, especially during this like weird breakdown section thing. My brain was just all over the place when I wrote this. Lastly, let's try some saturation on the lead guitar. Lead guitars can sometimes start to sound a little thin, especially when working with modelers, but here it is without Escalator. And in the mix. So we've managed to add a lot more energy and weight to all of our tracks without having to do a whole lot, and a little really does go a long way. So let's finish up by listening to all of our tracks with all instances of Escalator bypassed and then engaged. Awesome, I hope you found this tutorial helpful. How are you using saturation in your mixes? Saturation can be really great on things like vocals too. As I mentioned earlier, if you liked how Escalator sounded, you can head over to blacksaltaudio.com and get yourself a 14-day free trial. And if you sign up for the mailing list, you'll get access to exclusive discount codes and flash sales over email. We have new videos here every week, so why not consider subscribing and leaving a like while you're at it. We threw Escalator into our drum bus in this video, but it can also sound great on the snare drum itself, so why not check out this video or check out this playlist on our newest plugin, Telefy, the all-in-one solution for creating the classic telephone lo-fi effect. And if there are other mixing tutorials that you'd like us to tackle in the future, be sure to comment down below and let us know what you'd like to see next. Until then, thank you so much for watching. I've been Jerry, and I'll catch you in the next video. See ya!